I originally planned to talk about election interference by the Democrat Party in today's episode, and little did I know that the deep state was going for an all-out election interference campaign in the form of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. So I'm going to pivot just a bit. I'm not going to talk about the circumstances of the assassination attempt or the abysmal failure by the Secret Service and local law enforcement to properly secure the rally venue, safeguard Donald Trump and the attendees. And I'm not even going to go over what should be done about the deep state's involvement in this assassination attempt. This episode is about you and I. It's about taking a stand and having the same conviction that Donald Trump demonstrated just after taking a bullet. Hello, and welcome to the 104th episode of Office of the Patriot. And time sure flies when you're having fun. I'm your host, Myron Ybarra. Unfortunately, Angry Mike isn't going to be able to make today's episode. He will be with us next week, hopefully, and God willing. Conviction. No, not the 34 felony convictions that Donald Trump endured at the hands of political operatives in New York who are disguised as prosecutors and judges. I'm talking about conviction of belief based on measurable facts. It's something that up until recently most Americans would not exhibit in public, especially in the area of politics and social matters. And I get it. Our society is pretty complex. The idea of separating your work life from your personal life is, well, pretty much non-existent. This makes anything you write, say, or do of a personal nature public. And anything you do in public is something that you can be held accountable for. And this is especially true if you have any social media footprint and you're a conservative. Things that you say online will have an impact in other areas of your life, both positive and negative. And publicly supporting Donald Trump may result in you being ostracized at work or worse, being laid off. So as I said, I understand why people, especially conservative people, keep their political leanings to themselves. I mean, I used to hear it all the time from friends and family who supported Donald Trump, yet would never admit to it in public for fear of repercussions. But that time is now past. By now, everyone here has seen the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And if you haven't, just type in those words into any Google search and they'll probably have at least 100 videos that pop up. Anybody who's willing to stay in the race after being shot at while trying to save the country is somebody who's worthy of public endorsement. Andrew Tate, a conservative, albeit a controversial public figure, said something in one of his many videos that kind of struck a nerve with me. And it really fits everything that's been going on with Donald Trump and, to a lesser extent, many outspoken conservatives. He said, "First they try to shut you down. And then they try to discredit you. And if that doesn't work, they try to put you in jail for no reason. And if that doesn't work, then they try to kill you."
I knew it. I kept saying before I was arrested on every single podcast I did, I said, you get 3 lives in the world. The first life, they're going to cancel you. They're going to slander you. They're going to delete your access to social media so you can't defend yourself. The second life, they're going to try and put you in jail for no reason. And if you continue to speak against the power, they're going to assassinate you.
I'm not going to go through each and every one of these instances as it relates to Donald Trump, because I'm pretty sure you can figure that out for yourself. Suffice to say, each of these instances would make most anyone pause and rethink their decision to exercise their First Amendment rights. But Donald Trump didn't. And at a minimum, we should do the same. Some of you may be wondering why I'm suggesting publicly endorsing Donald Trump and not being ashamed or afraid to let other people, especially other liberals, I know that I'm conservative and a Trump supporter. Well, because the deep state is watching and they are basing their decisions on public responses to stimuli. For instance, I believe the COVID lockdowns were a test to see how well the public at large would tolerate having constitutionally protected liberties removed or suspended. If the deep state believes they can get away with something with minimal unrest, or at least unrest that is controllable, then it's likely they'll feel empowered to move forward with whatever plans they have. However, when they start seeing not just thousands, but millions of Americans embracing their First Amendment and Second Amendment rights, guaranteed under our Constitution by publicly supporting Donald Trump, it is going to have a deterrent effect on how far the uniparty deep state is willing to push their agenda. Next, you've probably heard the left and some on the right talking about toning down the rhetoric as a result of the attempted assassination of Trump. And here's a montage of this recent development.
It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that.
The rhetoric is way too hot.
I agree fully that we need to tamp down political rhetoric.
Everyone needs to turn the rhetoric down.
Voices across the political world asked for calm in the immediate aftermath of Donald Trump's assassination attempt. But there was blame, too.
I do believe that Joe Biden is responsible for the shooting. Everyone who has called him a fascist, everyone who has called him a threat to democracy, who said that he should be put in a bullseye, as Joe Biden said, they need to have some very deep reflection.
Other prominent Republicans like Ohio Senator J.D. Vance and Congressman Steve Scalise blame the shooting on rhetoric from Democrats. California Democrat Eric Swalwell wondered why a registered Republican would fire at the party's candidate. A staffer for Mississippi Democrat Betty Thompson posted the gunman needed shooting lessons. The staffer was later fired.
Sorry, but you're not going to get that recommendation from me. Now, to be clear, I'm not suggesting that we ramp up political rhetoric and discourse to the point of overt calls to violence. However, there are a couple reasons I'm not suggesting toning down speech. First and foremost, we have free speech in this country. Speech is designed to provoke thought and ultimately discourse. There's no guarantee that speech isn't going to incite passions. In truth, that's kind of the purpose of free speech. It's up to the people who are listening to restrain their emotions and not let those emotions guide their actions. This is what the unhinged shooter did. He allowed his emotions to control his actions, likely due to the left's constant barrage of Donald Trump and conservatives being Nazis and fascists and all other things anti-American. And while I know these claims are false, a significant amount of leftists don't. I mean, I have family members who are leftist, and they believe to their core that Donald Trump and most conservatives, to include me, are fascists. So calling for toning down the rhetoric is just another way to call for censorship. I don't care that people on the left believe I'm a fascist or racist or any otherist, and neither should you, especially now. On the flip side, the unhinged left needs to be both prepared to defend their accusations and receive some very hard truths from us. And this is why I'm calling on all conservative Americans to publicly stand up for your convictions and openly support the elected representatives you want in office. In my case, that happens to be Donald Trump. I'm also calling for conservative Americans to not endorse censorship in the form of toning down your God-given right to free speech. The Supreme Court has already qualified what is and what is not protected speech. More to the point, they've also determined that political speech is the most protected speech, and only gross and overt calls to violence fall outside the constitutional protections of free speech. So, sport your Trump Vance t-shirts and hats with pride. And don't be afraid to engage other Americans who will or may have a different point of view than you do. Because that is what being an American is all about. And this concludes today's presentation of Office of the Patriot. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share my channel on your social media. It is appreciated. Also, please take the time to comment. I really want to hear what you have to say regarding any and all topics related to this presentation. Further, comment interaction is a major metric YouTube and Rumble and other social media platforms use to determine engagement. And the more people that like and comment, the more the Office of the Patriot channel will come up when social and political content like this is searched for. And as always, have a blessed day and stay safe out there.